Okay, welcome to another live stream of painting Black Rose Wars with Citadel Contrast Colour Paints. Tonight I'm going to be painting a couple of the demons, the Oni and the Nurit Ona, as well as a little bit of the Infamy of Crete. Probably my favourite miniature in the Sator box and perhaps even in the game. Just a fantastic miniature. It's pretty big, And what a forgotten card, a forgotten spell card. Absolute beast it is. Obviously we painted the elementals last, so now we're moving on to those demons to move it along. And then I think next after these, and this could take a couple of sessions, but next after these would be Bronte. I think he's going to be the next one after that. So if anyone's joining the chat, just realised I might not have. Oh, I do have. Please do chuck on the chat about what you're painting, what you've been playing with Black Rose Wars. Obviously, I've posted a few videos of solo play using a little bit of a slightly different deck selection technique, where I've played with all of the new schools of Magic, or certainly play with some of them anyway. It's been really fun, but I've got my ass handed to me quite royally each time so far. But really, really fun and really enjoyable to play. So, as with all contrast paints, the thing I always start with is the primer, which is Wraithbone Spray, Citadel Wraithbone Spray. And this is, in my opinion, the best spray for contrast paints. It gives such a nice tone to all the colours. It brings out the detail. I mean, you can literally just spray them and they look great. Look, you can see the detail so much better than compared to the plastic. I think it's absolutely awesome. So that's the first stage, and then we move on to light colours, and then progress on to the darker colours as we move through. So with all three, well, certainly with the demons anyway, we've got a bit of that white coming through, okay? And that's what I'm going to start with. An essential paint on the contrast range is Apothecary White. It technically is a grey, I suppose, which gives white highlights. Make sure you give them a good shake. You want to get the pigments really flowing throughout the whole pot. Let's start with the hair of the Oni. So the hair of the Oni is that white colour. And I'm using, as always, my size 0 brush, which is a Winsor Newton Series 7, for most of the painting. So, just make sure I've got everything in. So, just don't be afraid to go quite liberal with it. You don't want it to pool everywhere, but you do want it to certainly have the texture that you're after. Again, I'm not too fussed about going over the skin because that's just going to go in with a red, which of course is a darker colour compared to the white. So we'll certainly show out over the white, and that's why you go light to dark. If you've not seen my other videos before, I always talk about the fact that I think these are very much like watercolour paints in the sense that go light to dark, and then you can most of the time go over it, although it doesn't work always. But certainly when you're dealing with the whites and the light greys and things like that, it'll be fine to go over that with a different colour. You want to try and be careful with all of your contrast paints, because ultimately they are a kind of one coat wonder. That's how you want to kind of handle them, I suppose. So you don't want to be you don't want to be having to touch up all the time with Wraithbone base paint to go back over again with the contrasts, because then you negate the fact that they are quick if you do one coat only. Okay, so that's the hair. It does look really grey to start with, but it does dry lighter. And then that I would say the ropes probably are white as well. So this rope down here by looking at the card art, looks like it's white and the rope goes around his back. So let's carry that on. Holding the lovely severed heads of Johnny. And I would say that's it. There's maybe the grey of the beard. Look at the detail on those faces. Absolutely superb. Okay, so that's the Oni down for the white. So I'll put him to side. And then we'll go on to the Nure Ona. And her sleeves, a lot of the trim of her dress is this white. Including inside. These miniatures are so fun. They're brilliant sculpts. And it does pop on the table when you do put them out. I do love that. So looking at the central piece, again being white as well. Oh, it's got a red out. Actually, it's got a red outer part, but that's fine. Again, I'm not too fussed. And then the trim of the dress itself. And the great thing about these miniatures from Ludus Magnus game is that they're really detailed in terms of the molds. So the contrast will do all the work for you, which is exactly what you want for the contrast. You want the contrast to kind of fill in those gaps. You want the detail to pop, and that happens with these miniatures fantastically because they've got the details so strongly shown on the miniature itself. Just going underneath there as well. And we'll go over to the bottom part of the dress now. And yeah, it does look really grey at some points, but trust me, it will look better because it will look really good because of the contrast. You want the contrast. That's what makes these colours pop more. But you can see the Rathbone primer really coming through now and doing its work. So, looks like it. Okay, now the neckline. Freaky model. It's brilliant. And that. Look at the. Yeah, I think that'll be fine. Actually, I'm just going to do the little tassels here. And this one as well. Okay, so that's the white of the new Nure Ona with apothecary white. The Infamy of Crete hasn't. Whoa, excuse me. The Infamy of Crete doesn't seem to have any white, although it looks like those pillars are actually kind of like a white stone. So I think I will go with those pillars as well. I'm going to crack onto a larger brush, kind of like size 4, just old brush, just to get a lot more coverage. And I'm really not afraid to use a fair amount of this now, because again, I want good definition in this stone pillar. I will go around and just draw up some of that pooling. I don't want it completely saturated in contrast paint. It won't look good at all. But I want a decent amount on there. Okay. On to the other stone. Just grab some of the paint from a bit too much paint perhaps on some of these. Okay, and we'll just crack on with getting the paint. Oh no, it's doing that thing again. It seems to be repelling. Before I paint, before I base the rest of the miniatures from the Citadel box, I'm going to ensure that I give them a good clean. I think there's some residue on some of the. If I show you here, see how it's not sticking to parts of the miniature. Especially the flat parts, which is really annoying because it doesn't give a good effect. So I think, just to be sure, I'm going to spray the I'm going to give them a good old warm soapy water bath, as it were, before I prime them next time, and hopefully that'll sort that out. It's quite annoying that you have to keep going over and over and over again. And of course, the more vibrant the colour, the worse it's going to be, because if that's not catching, that's not ideal. Oops, I'll just put my finger over that one. Okay, so that's these stone pillars he's going to throw about, and that's the Apothecary White. Yeah, to be honest, it's the first time I've... hey, Derek. It's the first time I've seen the repelling happen on contrasts. And I've used them a fair amount, which is a real shame. Which is really bizarre. I thought at first, I wondered if it was the conditions at which I sprayed the Wraithbone spray on. Because it was really quite cold outside. But I basically sprayed at the same time. And they're absolutely fine. They will take the paint on the flat surfaces absolutely perfectly. So I think so. I think yeah, scrub with a toothbrush, and sometimes that gets the issue through. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to do across the board. Okay, so we've done our white, and next I think we're gonna go in straight, just to get the effect, straight with the red.